It's Thursday morning, and you know what that means? It means we didn't get to record last night because I had something else going on. This is the Alabama Slam Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Hanna.
What's going on, guys? It's Patrick Akers.
And I've learned a lot about Drake and Kendrick Lamar this week.
They even got mentioned on fucking Raw the other night.
Like 3 or 4 times.
Well, let's get into some WWE action for the weekend. There was a PLE this weekend, pay-per-view, Backlash, but I want to touch a little bit on SmackDown first. Not really any of the matches unless you guys wanted to, because we got a lot to cover for the thing. But Heyman says that he hasn't spoken to Roman since WrestleMania.
Loved it. You see the look on his face when he said that shit and realized he had said what he had said of the, oh.
And he's the one that pulled Roman out of the draft, right?
So is Heyman your tribal chief? Is Solo the tribal chief? Is Roman still the tribal chief? Well, is there a dude waiting in the wings that's really the tribal chief?
We saw Roman. He was at Disneyland or Disney World with his family in a ball couch. So he hard. Somebody's found him. So I don't know. I mean, this is a neat way to keep the story going. Like with anything with the bloodline, it's what comes next. I'm still not sold on Solo and his bloodline Wolfpack, but we'll get to that.
If the moment Jacob Fatu debuts, if Solo hasn't stepped up his game, he can't be the tribal chief. Jacob will out tribal chief his ass in a heartbeat.
Fatu definitely has the talent, and he has a look about him. He looks probably the way Solo should look in terms of just physical stature. I mean, this has to be leading to, Rock and his version of the bloodline versus Roman and his version of the bloodline that includes a Jey Uso and a Jimmy Uso and
Sami Zayn, baby, come on, let's get it.
Possibly, why not? Yeah.
If
honorary Us.
If Rock, Tonga, Toa, Solo, and Jacob are all on one team. I mean, what do you got? Roman, the Usos, Sammy. Who's your fifth?
Stone Cold.
Well, the money ain't right for him.
The money ain't right now. But no, that's probably where we are.
Do you pull in Cody because it's a callback to all the crap he did and the dethroning?
I don't think so, because I think the Cody Rock stuff will happen first, which will spin us off into the Rock and Roman stuff. I don't think it'll be the other way around. I think Cody will get his match with The Rock first. Something in that match happens where now The Rock and Roman have to do their thing, and that's probably where you get to at WrestleMania next year. I
mean, if Solo doesn't step up, does he get pumped from the new bloodline and does he take the Sammy spot?
Possibly. Although seeing Sammy back together with those guys would be satifying.
It would.
That would 100%. Be a nice little callback.
And he's honorary Us, so he's blood.
And once you're an Us, always an Us, right?
He never made him full Us. He threatened to one time.
That's true.
But he didn't get full Us.
But maybe going against The Rock, maybe you do have to become full Us. Yeah, I'm for it. As we go to take it back
I wouldn't hate on that.
Yeah.
The only other note for SmackDown from our note page says, fucking France.
I'm telling you that you were already talking about France's. They were nonstop. I have never seen a crowd that was. I mean, they talked about it on the Backlash. They were stomping so hard they were shaking the hard cams.
Yeah. I thought I had it in my notes and I couldn't remember if it was from SmackDown or from Backlash, but I think I texted y'all at one point. I was like, these motherfuckers are jumping so hard, like the floors are moving.
They had decibel warnings going off to people inside that building. They were so goddamn loud.
I don't know if this is an intentional move by the WWE or if this is just a byproduct of what they've done, but normally coming out of WrestleMania season, we get to Backlash and it's always just like, because we're kind of just waiting until we pick back up around SummerSlam. But there's obviously a lull. By having Backlash now for these past 2 years, last year in Puerto Rico, this year in France, getting in front of people and a crowd that doesn't normally get to see WWE events. The crowd has now fed into this to where you make it seem like Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles is actually a big deal.
Oh, it's a big deal.
It's a one-off. Like the only story,
it was the most boring match of the pay-per-view.
The only story between these two guys was basically AJ was like, "I respect your daddy," and then they kind of wrestled. But putting them in France and in front of a crowd where the two guys get in the ring and the whole damn crowd is, singing and clapping and hooting and hollering, that energy will feed into when you're watching it.
And this crowd is exactly the type of crowd that I have said consistently that AEW needs. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to go to France to find them. You just got to find a small enough room and pack in a diehard enough group that it sounds like that. Because this was a small crowd from what they've been doing here in the States. This was probably about 8,000 less than what they've been packing.
Yeah.
And that place was crazy as hell.
And again, like the production is also scaled down. It's a smaller walkway to the ring. Mm-hmm. The screens are smaller.
Well, hell, even for that smaller walkway, they took the entire songs of everybody coming out there to give that crowd time to do whatever the hell they wanted to do.
Yeah. I one thing I did notice, probably partly because it wasn't Mania, but they didn't fuck around between matches either in Backlash. You know how we were complaining last time about there being so long in between matches? It was like 3-4 minute package, long enough to get the ring changed or the ring mat changed out, and then boom, here comes an entrance. Like they were moving.
This was a tight 2 hours and 53 minute pay-per-view.
Let's just jump on in there. Like I thought the show would be okay. I wasn't overly excited about it. I had more positive notes than I did negative. I thought they started off with a bang. KO and Randy Orton versus Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. Now it's a street fight per Nick Aldis because they couldn't even get to the bell ring without throwing haymakers. KO does a fucking brainbuster through the chairs, and then Tongaloa interferes with the count. Bloodline goes on to get the win. A fun way to start the show, even if I don't like the outcome. Obviously, I knew KO and Randy Orton weren't going to win.
I'm glad they didn't feud internally, though. I'm glad to see there wasn't like a turn on that and just let the story happen.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, no,
not one yet.
You've got two guys that are notorious for turning on on people they're partnered with. So
you gotta let them sell 2 or 3 weeks worth of shirts.
Yeah.
But yeah, fun way to start the show, I thought.
No, I enjoyed this. It was for what it was. For being, the moment you're spending all that time inside the crowd, it gets a little. But Kevin Owens knows how to sell those little moments, and he is the star of that match to me.
He also recently said, has 9 months left on his contract and he doesn't know what he's going to do. Smart businessman, smart negotiation tactic. He's not going to leave WWE, but just put it out there.
I thought he's already said he wasn't planning on leaving.
Well, you always say I'm not going to leave, but I only got 9 months left. But I'd like to be here. But
yeah, he just re-upped like a year and a half ago. Right?
Yeah, I think they're only doing 2-year contracts now. So
I bet you it gets a bigger one this time. I bet you it carries all the way to the end.
Probably, but the guy
Seth
down
just re-signed too.
Guy down in Jacksonville, you never know what he's thinking. He might throw who he's going to throw the bag at.
Well, you and I thought last time maybe there was a chance he'd jump ship because he's good friends with the Bucks.
One of the things I saw him say though is because he's spent so much time there, it's not just the ring product that he's after. It's all these people backstage that he's just built relationships with, that he's family with now, and he now, and I get it. There's family that you work with, and then there's money, and money can make a family. You can visit family with that said money. But
yeah, I think that would be the only thing that would be if Tony just comes with a ridiculous offer where even Triple H is like,
take that money, man.
Yeah, you have to. At this point in your career, you have to take it. But Kevin is a little bit different than a guy like Adam Copeland, because Copeland is in AEW clearly just to have fun. Now, we can talk about if his version of fun is actually good television or not at this point, but he's clearly having a blast doing it. But Kevin was the last like superstar indie guy that got signed to a major company. So all the like quote unquote critical acclaim, artsy fartsy kind of stuff, he's done that already.
Yep.
So I did like the match as well. Apologies to Tama Tonga because when he first debuted, we talked about he was the guy that did the shitty looking punches and chops to Okada. It was not him. It was this dude, Tama Loa, who did kind of fuck up the finish of this match already.
Yeah, that was hilarious. But here's
kudos to the ref.
Kudos to the ref. Damn straight. Him throwing his ass to the side. But from what I'm hearing, and again, fucking France is what I'm hearing is part of the problem, is that they were so goddamn loud.
Well, you got to figure out a way to cue that guy there, because our ref on the alternate angle from the fan cam just got hit with a magical wind that pulled him out of the
epileptic
ring.
Seizure.
Yeah.
There's a fun fan angle. Have you seen that one? Floating around, there's like what you didn't see on TV, and it's just
the backwards commentary disc. Which again,
seizure.
Kudos to the production team for not making it look seamless on the camera, because across the broadcast it didn't look like that.
No, it looked
boy,
like,
oh boy, that cell phone footage was something else.
Minute late.
So hopefully this dude is doesn't have too many of these over here in WWE, because he is involved in when the Rock and Roman come back, this will be the main story in WWE.
And there's still another brother.
There's still another one out there.
At first I thought this was Jacob Fatu, because I've seen some footage of him, but I don't know like exactly what he looks like.
Tama and Tomaloa are the adopted sons of Haku. He's got another son still in New Japan that's like almost 7 foot tall.
Yeah, Hikuleo, who was in AEW for like 2 weeks and then went back to New Japan.
So like literally, you could lose Solo from that equation, put him on the new bloodline, and still keep Sami Zayn.
I think there's another dude that just debuted. I don't think he's in NXT, but I think he's like 23 and he just debuted somewhere.
I mean, they are coming out the woodworks.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
You got any other thoughts on this one before we move on?
Nah, SmackDown. The SmackDown was interesting for what it was, but
yeah. Bayley versus Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton. I thought this was a fun match. I didn't have much invested in this at all going in. I thought Bayley and Tiffany carried this one. Bayley gets the win. I said this to my wife. I said, because she didn't get to see much of it. I said, Naomi was too busy carrying on with her hair and her eyelashes to really focus on what she was doing in the ring. I felt like, I get it. It's a pay-per-view. You got to get a little something extra on there. But like, she was just too wrapped up. And whatever she did to her fucking eyelashes, I think was interfering with her vision or something. I don't know. There was something going on there to me. I just felt like she didn't seem like she was. And also she just seemed like her speed wasn't there compared to like Tiffany and Bayley either.
Well, she's not as good as those two girls,
right, in
the ring. And I mean, Tiffany at this young of an age in her wrestling career is already like, put her on top 5 of in-ring female workers in the whole world right now. She is, she's fantastic. She's the shit.
And I think there's also a little bit of motivation factor when you came back and you have no wins whatsoever to you. You're on the back burner. There's people that are getting pushed way faster, way more than you. I mean, the motivation is to shine. What is the Glengarry Glen Ross? The Alec Baldwin speech where he tells you you're all fired. And I mean, some people are going to excel and be rehired. Other people are going to be like, I'm fired. I don't care. I think she's falling in that second half. And if she's going to stick around, she's going to have to shine harder she's going to have to glow a little bit more.
Hey-o. Do y'all want to keep moving, or do you want anything else on that one?
I mean, I don't think really with Backlash, there were really like everyone kind of could see where the stories were going, right? Yeah, even in Jade and Bianca, you could tell that they were going to win the tag team titles.
There was nothing unpredictable in this pay-per-view, but that's not well, I guess the unpredictable was the
Tongaloa.
Yeah. And that's fine. But as far as outcomes, nothing was really unpredictable. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, knowing, the progressions and the story beats. We like the familiar kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why you put it in France. That's why last year you put it in Puerto Rico. The crowd becomes the story
factor.
And I think this three-way match is just really a tide over to give Tiffany a little bit more time to get over before you have her going up against Bayley in a single run.
Yeah.
And whether or not you put the belt on her, that's a different story.
Yeah, that's a good question. Jey Uso versus Damian Priest. Priest said he didn't want any help from the Judgment Day. We knew damn well that wasn't going to hold up. Priest retains with the help from Finn and JD McDonough.
But he's mad about it. And then he gets mad when they start beating up Jay afterwards. Are we getting a good guy Priest, it looks like?
I hope not. I hope out of anybody we get good guy Finn Balor back before we get good guy Damian Priest. But I'm still not sold as Priest as a champion, but that's, somebody's got to have the belt right now.
Yeah, he doesn't seem real comfortable with it.
I just, sometimes it is just like a look thing. And you would look at Damian Priest and just be, okay, he's, tall, dark, handsome. Of course he's a champion, but something does not feel right.
Yeah. And
maybe it is a confidence thing. Maybe he is not carrying himself like he's the world heavyweight champion right now. I don't really know, because he's not. Is he fantastic in the ring? No, but he's not terrible. Is he fantastic on the mic? No, but he's not terrible. You can't teach size.
I mean, the confidence could also be related to kind of how the past year has gone, where you almost get the feel of start, stop, and just kind of circling in an area until something finally falls into place. So, I mean, we're talking about people and losing confidence because of the pieces around them. I mean, that can happen. And
when you go out and you don't get the kind of reaction, even on Monday Night Raw, the crowd's just kind of okay, yeah.
He's not the guy that's in that group that's going to get cheered the most.
No.
Because that's Rhea.
Yeah.
He's not the guy that's going to get booed, because that's Dom.
Dom's look with the cast and the stash. Bro, what a smart way to just keep a dude on TV. And he doesn't have to do anything.
The fucking bandana.
But it's getting, oh my goodness, they are setting him up to be even more hated.
Oh yeah. I didn't notice it because it was such a minor detail, but I think that's what Twitter and TikTok are for. He's got the purple bandana covering most of his face.
Showed up in a pocket, didn't it?
Yeah, and then it showed up in in Liv Morgan's pocket later.
Which, ain't that just like a man? Listen, you got one thing right. Even Jay-Z. Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce, right? There's no amount. It doesn't matter how high up the ladder you go. You just want something new. Something different.
No, dog, listen.
He supposedly liked the post too. That's what's even worse.
Oh, come on, dog.
Just, you gotta.
I know this is all for story and fun, but,
but
come on, dog.
Yeah. But think about. I mean, just sit here and think about that crowd when Rhea comes back. The pop be through the roof. Think about and just that moment where she looks at Dom and calls him out on that shit, and he full on does, and the amount of heat that's going to fall on that kid, and it's going to be glorious.
Yeah,
she's going to choke slam the shit out of him.
Yeah, she can beat the hell out of him.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought too, I was like, they're up in the ante with his mustache, because I was like, it was not they did some makeup work backstage with that, because it did not look like that last week.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, he got a fantastic look.
Kabuki Warriors versus Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. Cargill.
You said the main event was your most boring one. To me, this was the one that I was least interested in.
Well, I didn't see much of this one. I was getting ready for some company to come over, so I missed most of this one.
I mean, it was what you expected out of this match. There wasn't anything. I mean, it was solid. They got to show off the power.
I was walking through the room at one point and noticed that Jade looked a lot more comfortable in some of her fluidity and the moves that she was pulling off.
She's not doing anything extreme at this stage. She's doing the same stuff that she was doing in AEW, but I would say that she's starting to feel a little bit. It seems like she is feeling a little more comfortable with what's going on.
Probably just having a few months at the Performance Center was.
Well, there's that, and there's also like the style in WWE, just the in-house wrestling style is different. So like, I think all of us thought she would be a way bigger star in WWE than she was in AEW, because everything she does well is the things that WWE is looking for. She has a look. First, and that's an understatement. She has a look that like no other, not even like Rhea Ripley really has. Like there is just like a genetic gift to her. Mm-hmm. And at some point in wrestling, for as much as we, the new age of wrestling is like, oh, you don't want to body shame people. It is a body type of art form. Like you have a look to you.
And she is sculpted.
I mean, yeah, she looks like a damn statue. So like you put that plus with the entrance, plus with the WWE production. And it's like, yeah, if she was if she was a C+ in AEW in the in-ring, well, that's fine, because in the WWE, the baseline for just everything is at like a B- or a B. So like she doesn't have to do anything but come in and throw these women around, and she looks incredible.
And she's not even, we're not talking about her in a singles match at this stage.
No. Right.
She's got a partner there that can carry her, and she was in the ring with people that will make other people look good.
Now, the question is, because they're inevitably going to turn on each other, who do you make the heel?
Jade.
I think it's a very easy choice. I think it's Bianca. I think in the EST character is just a naturally heel type of thing. And I think the more that the WWE audience gets to know Jade Cargill, like behind the scenes and kind of her story, even though she's super jacked and towering over a lot of these women, I think she is like a natural baby face to her.
Why I would say no to that is Jade doesn't have a TV show she's trying to put out there.
Well, that is a good point. But at this point, does that still, because
Miz was an asshole.
I was about to say, does it still matter? Because I think now the audience is so smart, they're so self-aware.
I would say it does, in the sense because there's still a lot of sexism in there, and she's already overcoming a lot of, when you are an aggressive woman, you're always going to get that bitch mentality thrown at you. So I think whereas the Miz has had that for long enough. So to me, that's why you would have her still be your baby face and Jade be the.
She's been a damn baby face for so long though. Good God. Yeah. She's now going on what? 3-4 years? 3 years?
Well, see, especially when you're having if you're getting the TV show, seems like it's a good way to have her be more connected to Montez and the Street Profits. So if you're going to have them and Bobby Lashley both be good guys, you can't. Maybe you can.
I just think it would be. She would probably enjoy it more because she gets to flex a different type of muscle, so to speak, being a different type of character. For Jade, it's kind of. I do think if the fan base gets to know her personal story, I think it's easier for her to be a babyface because she necessarily doesn't have to play quote unquote like a character. Like
she
can just be herself. Yeah.
Now the big thing out of this one is Asuka's now out with an injury.
Yeah.
So.
Which Damage Control's kind of been they kind of been DOA for the past 18 months, I guess. Maybe 2 weeks after they debuted at SummerSlam. That time.
Let's get into Cody versus AJ.
You say it's boring.
I just thought it was boring. It just there was.
I enjoyed this one. I'll be our tiebreaker.
I thought it was fun. I thought it was a classic kind of WWE match. I guess maybe I'm at a point with WWE. I don't expect much out of these matches.
To me, this was more. This was a slow. This wasn't like a mile a minute. This was a very deliberate pace to this thing. But I think that was the story they were trying to tell with this. This was not about breakneck speed. This was about attrition, where they were going to keep going at each other until one of them just couldn't keep going anymore.
I did like the cutter from the top rope. I thought that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
But for the rest of it, I saved this. This is a meme that Patrick sent to us the other night. It said, "I respect you, Cody Rhodes, but I want to win this championship." And then, "I respect you, AJ Styles, but I want to win this championship." So it's obviously the two of them talking at the contract signing. And then Cody says, "My father was Dusty Rhodes." Handshake.
I mean, that was kind of...
That's the story here.
This is kind of it.
They tried to put a little bit more in it with the Bullet Club leadership there.
Which the New Japan subreddit was not having any of this bullshit that Cody Rhodes was a Bullet Club leader. Now, I'm not that knowledgeable in that era of
New Japan has officially said that he was a leader.
The fans on Reddit said that was preposterous.
They said the no.
They said that Michael Cole didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. So I'm just reporting from the
I just thought it was interesting that they said New Japan. Like, they never reference any of the other.
They've been doing a lot more lately. They don't.
I mean, so many of these guys now have AJ Styles has a history in New Japan.
Yep.
Cody Rhodes obviously has a history in New Japan. There are, they have gotten away from the WWE as its own little universe, and now it is expanded to they are part of a global wrestling scene.
Well, a WWE is a universe. You have all these planets that are inside that now.
Well, I guess that's a good way to think about it too. Yeah.
Carter asked me the other day what had been kind of going on in wrestling and what I thought was happening and blah blah blah, and I just told him, I was like, they've told the biggest story they can tell with Cody Rhodes. I was like, they even basically came out and said last week that they don't know exactly what they're doing until The Rock is able to come back. So I'm just curious to see how they keep us interested in rooting for Cody Rhodes.
I saw a quote. It was Gilla, their new signer, and she was talking about why she chose WWE over continuing where she was. And she's like, "I've been wrestling in front of 3,000 people in Japan, and that was great. And then I showed up at WrestleMania, and I was wrestling in front of 40,000. I was sitting in front of 40,000 people and listening to that. And I don't know how I could ever go back to wanting just to wrestle in front of 3,000 people." This is, when you are referencing these other places, they exist in that world and they are able to produce some amazing things, but there's a sense of spectacularness that goes with these other places, like in WWE, that I think we're starting to see and those other places are starting to see.
Yeah, I mean, they're the king of the jungle for sure, and they're able, like you said, they're able to make moments. Their problem is it's not a problem, but there is so much of that content, and they have so much weekly television that
it's sanitized a lot.
It's sanitized, and also, like, if we were to do this podcast, like if WrestleMania would have been our season finale, and then we would have jumped back in and started doing it, 4 weeks before SummerSlam, will we have missed that much? Probably not. But that's just a product of being a weekly television like that and having that many pay-per-views. But that being said,
so I want to know what you would have wanted from that match, though.
It never felt intense to me. I don't know. It was just the pacing, I thought maybe was off or something. Like, for it to be the main event, it should have stood out over all of the rest of them. And I thought the first match of the night was top notch.
Intensity wise, yes. First match was the one that kind of.
And I don't expect it to be like that.
No, this was the first time in 2 years that a main event for the WWE title hasn't ended with somebody coming in and interfering.
Yeah, so at least that was refreshing.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I do get what you're saying, though. Like, it's for the title. You would hope that, out of anything, you would come away from the thing being like that. Those two guys had the best match because it was for the title.
And this could, it could just be a me problem. Like I was telling my son, like, what are they going to do to keep me excited? And this didn't do it about Cody, you know?
To me, this was an opening. This was number one in what will probably be a feud that goes on at some point. They took time. They were trying to. It was a lot of counter wrestling. They were talking about they were both Georgia amateur wrestlers. They kind of circled each other in a lot of different ways, and we're just trying to
the Stardust throwback.
Yeah, fucking France. I have been a Stardust lover for a long time. I got the shirt to prove it back at the house. But dude had a Stardust chant going. At this stage, I mean,
somebody, if they wanted to be real disrespectful, should wear a Stardust like the way like Seth, when he goes up against Roman, wears the Shield stuff. Mm-hmm. Somebody should just come out and wrestle Cody in a Stardust.
Seth coming out in fucking Dusty Rhodes attire.
Yeah, just the disrespect.
But to me, this was you had those little moments where they were just trying to bait each other, and it was more just about getting a feel, but left a lot. They didn't take all the money that was on the table, because that's stuff you can come back for later on. This was just that opening field to expand on later.
You wanted Ospreay Danielson. That's what you wanted.
No.
Oh, you can say it.
You can say it.
I ain't getting it out of this. I know.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's not. But that is like.
But here's the thing.
It's part of it.
Ospreay Danielson is great. But is it any different than Ospreay Fletcher? Ospreay whoever?
Ospreay Danielson was. Now maybe it's kind of it's in a similar vein as like Ospreay Omega from Full Gear 2 years ago. But yeah, Ospreay and Danielson was.
But that's the thing is when your top guy over there doesn't stand out against anybody, it doesn't elevate any of those moments to me. Everybody is he's not outstanding in his field when everybody else is able to go 30 minutes with him.
Well, we don't want to get sidetracked on that.
Yeah, I'm just looking like, well, let's go on and get into Raw. Mostly King of the Ring qualifying matches, even though somehow
I love this Raw.
What was the one they said they couldn't? I saw a tweet. It's like they somehow, in a 3-hour show, couldn't manage to get in those last 2 qualifying matches, so they got to do them at a house show this weekend.
Oh, well, CM Punk stole some time.
Yeah. Well, no, this was early. Well, yeah, this was early on, I think, because they had announced it. So Drew McIntyre's out injured. So we got Jey Uso versus Finn Balor. I mostly put it on there for the fact that Drew's injured and we don't get him. I did like the angle of Punk showing up right behind Drew driving out, and is like, he gets in the ring. It's like, let's tweet at him and get him to come back. He's sitting at a red light checking his phone. I thought that was funny as shit.
This is something that is new to WWE in the sense that you had a long continuous shot of Adam Pearce and Drew talking about the injury, him getting pissed off, driving away, him going up the ramp, another car pulls in, CM Punk now having a conversation, him doing that backstage walk all the way out to the ring, just one long.
I saw another tweet referencing that sort of thing, or TikTok, that some folks think that that's probably some Paul Heyman influence on production.
Maybe.
Because they were showing like old ECW shots of like Taz being followed all throughout the thing. And they're like, we think Paul Heyman may be getting his hands in production, which is kind of neat. They did reference Kendrick and Drake and the CM Punk thing I thought was funny.
Yep. Don't like the way you talk. Don't like the way you dress.
Bro, Kendrick, and not to get derailed for a second, Kendrick and Drake's the best pro wrestling beef of the last 10 years. This is pro wrestling to a T. Like, there is something kind of crazy that, like, pro wrestling has invaded kind of every single element of pop culture and really politics at this point, for better, probably for worse, honestly. But like Rick Rubin, the legendary producer, he's talked about, he's a huge pro wrestling fan, and he's talked about like the only thing that's real in this world is pro wrestling, because everybody else is playing in real life. You're playing a character and you have these masks on. At least in pro wrestling, it is the most real because it resembles life so much. So like Kendrick and Drake, Trump, Biden, blah blah. It's all of it's just pro wrestling.
I mean, we got Kofi who referenced the feud directly. You got CM Punk who started talking about doing quotes from the thing. You got Kendrick dropping Sweet Chin music and
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. This is you say it's the best beef in pro wrestling. It is. And why? Because it's personal.
Was it one of y'all that said they ought to get these two together in a match?
Oh, no. I mean, hell, Shawn Michaels said it.
Oh, okay. That's what it was.
Shawn Michaels said he did.
These two dudes ain't working together though. Ain't nobody jobbing to nobody. All right. This is Hulk Hogan on both sides. This don't work for me, brother. Ain't not that motherfucker. I ain't doing it with him.
But okay, so normally y'all fast forward. Did y'all fast forward through these matches and stuff?
I did because I started late and I was tired. The only one I watched was Dragunov versus Ricochet.
Damn straight you did.
And that shit was fun.
Damn straight you did.
Yeah, you had been telling me about Dragunov, and I was like, okay, well, this will be. I gotta watch this match, and it delivered.
I'm still trying to figure out what he ended up landing on to get the vampire bites in his forehead.
There ain't no telling.
That match was good because that match. Might sound because it's a little hypocritical to say it's not a WWE match because it did happen in WWE, but like the style of it was not a WWE match.
But I'll say, this was one of the best episodes of Raw in the sense of in-ring competition because you had 4 matches that were solid freaking matches. Uso versus Finn Balor.
I did watch that one.
Was a good match. Took up. You're talking about how these matches tended to be short and stuff. That one was about 15 minutes or so, which is exceedingly long in a WWE TV show.
That's all it needed.
Exactly. That's what it needed. And I'm fine with that. And then you got the one that stole the show to me, which was Dragunov and Ricochet. And he got to show out. Now, mind you, I don't think he's winning next week because, you got your top star versus your up and coming star.
Yeah.
But he's going to show out again because that dude is who if you're talking about people that can compete with Will Ospreay as being the best wrestler in the world, that dude is one.
For somebody like me who knew the name and never seen any of the matches, like it was a good start.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, go back and watch any of the 3 matches he put on with Gunther because those are solid things. I mean, he elevates the people that he's working with.
We talk about this, or I've talked about this before. Like, even the Cody Rhodes AJ Styles match had it. Like, a lot of WWE matches, they get to the last third of it, and it's somebody reverses a move, hits it, 1, 2, kick out. Okay, then the other person reverses a move, 1, 2, kick out.
I'm going to take offense to this because they do the same damn thing in AEW. They do.
Not in the no, because this leads into what I was talking about. In the so in the Ospreay Danielson, there are sequences of moves that lead to a false finish, and that's exactly what Dragunov and Ricochet did, which is I hit a move, the dude, instead of just laying there, feeds up to hit into another move, which feeds into something, and then we counter it. So it's a long sequence that leads to the same thing, and not just a staccato 1, 2, kick out. Okay, now your turn. 1, 2, kick out. That to me is what kills the momentum in matches, and that's why I said like Dragunov and Ricochet didn't remind me of a WWE match. It reminded me of and it's not even really an AEW match specifically. That's sort of the American independent, like the early Ring of Honors where Samoa Joe and Danielson and those guys were taking like Japanese wrestling and merging it with, other types of wrestling, kind of blending it. Like that is sort of the modern American independent style. But no, Dragunov is, he's the shit. Now, I don't know how many other people can dance like that with him. Like the roster in WWE might be a little bit smaller. Like obviously Ricochet's one of them. Gunther's one of them. But like,
I mean, he got good matches out of Trick Williams. He got good match. He's got great matches out of Carmelo.
Carmelo might be another one. Like if Dragunov can get a good match out of, I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody.
Ivar.
Well, you say that, but Ivar is out there for what he is. I mean,
yeah. I think, but in no disrespect to Ivar, like if he could pull a badass match out of Ivar, then that would be something. And that is the mark of a great professional wrestler.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Shawn Michaels to a T, and that's Bret Hart to a T. I mean, those guys could wrestle. It's like the old adage, like those guys could wrestle a broomstick and make it look good.
But then you get Dakota Kai and Lyra Valkyrie, which was a solid match.
I didn't see it, but I take your word on it.
And then we end with the just meaty meats meeting.
Yeah.
And
I watched maybe the last. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched maybe the last 5 or 10 minutes.
This entertained the shit out of me. That's a picture that Sheamus posted of the handprint from where Gunther put it on the back with the tagline of Wilson, because it is a full ass Wilson handprint on a volleyball on his skin
and
from being chopped the shit out of.
That's what I like. Like that. It isn't just high flying and it isn't just spots. To me, what gets me going in wrestling is when you are physically putting it all out there. Because that shit, that hurts.
Yeah.
And you can have matches where you don't do stuff like that, where you don't lay stuff in. But to me, like, I don't know, man. I'm investing my time. The fans in the arena are investing their time. Like, I know it hurts, but that's what you get paid to do. Like, let's put it all out there,
And to me, this is what I think you found lacking in the Cody and AJ thing is what I appreciate, because it makes those kind of those moments mean more. It's not spot, over and over and over again where nobody's selling any kind of effect. They're making things mean more by doing slightly less.
I mean, I get it. Like, I don't think Hangman versus Danielson in a 60-minute match was a spot. You can't do that kind of thing in those matches, but a majority of what they're doing is that, though. I mean, it's 20 minutes of get my shit in and selling, get my shit in.
But that's to me, that's what Dragunov and Ricochet was.
But it wasn't, because they were showing the effects. Whereas,
well, I mean, yeah, they were selling the effects, but they weren't like staying down on the mat.
But it was moving. I mean, the thing that what made Finn and Uso less than that one was they stayed on the mat more than I would have liked them to do, because they kept going back to that chin lock rest hold to kind of reset and do stuff. Whereas Ricochet and Dragunov didn't reset to that same effect. But there's a difference between somebody, getting hit with the H-bomb and kicking out and then kind of trying to do something but failing because they're still suffering the effects, and somebody getting hit with a Canadian destroyer off the top rope and then, getting up and immediately doing something, you know what I mean? Whereas AJ Styles sold the top rope cutter for a moment long enough for other stuff to happen. It didn't just feed into him immediately pouncing up and hitting his top 7 moves.
I mean, Cody did take a burning hammer though and kick out at 1.
But they sold that into the story.
I mean, I agree, but there are elements of like,
because how many people hooked up on that show besides him?
Well, no, but I'm saying like there is a modern critique of or a critique of modern wrestling that kind of gets on my nerves when people talk about the selling aspect of it, because it's like you don't want the dudes. People's attention spans are so small. Like you can't wrestle a match the way you wrestled one in 1974.
100%.
Like that's not, for as much as I love Flair and Harley Race, if you just move for move did those matches that they did back in the day, that audience in France might boo your ass out of the building. You know what I'm saying? Like there is things change. The NBA. Yeah.
I mean, it's like watching a silent movie that is, watching an old Chaplin film.
Yeah.
And knowing that yes, that is a critically acclaimed movie, but it's not going to put butts in the seats in modern day. I get that.
But the good part of it, and I think Dragunov and Ricochet did this to some extent, and obviously Gunther and Sheamus, is that like the selling doesn't interfere with the pace of the match. That's where in modern audiences with modern day wrestling, that's where it can sometimes get tricky. And rest holds. We don't need rest. We don't need rest holds anymore unless you literally are lost. Yeah. Well, you shouldn't be sucking wind. You're a professional athlete, so you should not be doing that. The rest hold just comes like if you're just you fucking have a brain fart and you get a guy. I'm like, I forgot. What are we doing next? And that shit happens, right? I mean, it happens from time to time.
I think the difference, one of the things that is a difference between how a WWE match and an AEW match goes to me is the sense of where the process of the match comes from. I think that because they have a writing team, they have a creative development team, they have an established organization behind that's laying out a lot of that stuff, and you got producers that are saying, this is what you got to do. Color within the lines, but there's some lines. Whereas in AEW, it's generally we each are going to have our own creative control, and I want you to look good, so I want you to get all your shit in, bro. So it like I said, it takes that, it makes it so when everybody is able to show off, nobody shows off.
I still think Will Ospreay shows off, and it's Will Ospreay and Swerve show off in that company. I mean, you can feel it when they come on the screen.
I mean, they both had long competitive matches with Kyle Fletcher.
Yeah, but I mean, 2 weeks ago we talked about why is Carmelo having a competitive match against Cody Rhodes?
But again, this Carmelo is I think Carmelo's going to have some feuds that are going up in there, whereas Kyle Fletcher's now gone against both your top guys and held his own kind of stuff, and so has Daniel Bryanson, so has Takeshita, so has there's nothing separating him from anybody else even at this stage.
I would disagree with that, just for the pure quality of he wins the matches, and it's not like even at the end it wasn't like Kyle Fletcher was as competitive against Ospreay as what Danielson was. Kyle Fletcher didn't have a
Danielson is going to be an outlier because Danielson is an outlier.
Yeah, but I think you're going to see the same thing. Like, I think Ospreay's match with Roddy Strong is going to be a little bit different than what Ospreay and Fletcher was, and obviously, much like the way that WWE sees potential in Carmelo, I think AEW sees potential in Takeshita, which is why Takeshita has been positioned the way he is against some of the top stars. Yes, he loses, but he comes out looking like, a warrior in defeat and a next potential guy who could,
I think that's what I'm trying to get is I want to see more separation in their tiers and AEW to make me happy there, as opposed to everybody is A-list.
I mean, that's a valid point. But at some point, do you want to have matches that aren't as good? Like, AEW's in a weird spot where they're trying to figure out how to appeal to more fans and grow the fan base.
Yeah, let's ease on into this. I think,
but before we leave Raw, because it had great matches, which is to me a shocker on Raw a lot of times. But this was an outlier for a Raw episode. But they also advanced a bunch of different stories as well, which is all I want.
Yep. Just easing into AEW. I think what you said, they're trying to figure out ways to bring in newer fans because they've lost some. I mean, the shows have not been great. We've talked about in the last few months. They had a decent show a week or two ago. Pay-per-views are still fan-fucking-tastic. It's just trying to figure out the booking. We didn't have a Collision this week because of basketball. All honesty here, we had a family event Saturday, started drinking pretty early, and next thing I knew, it's time to go to bed, and woke up Sunday texting y'all like, God dang, my Hulu didn't get Collision for the second week in a row because it, for whatever, didn't do Collision last week. And then I kept looking, and I was like, it wasn't on demand. I couldn't find any fucking results online. I was like, why are there no results? And then finally one of y'all was like, bro, there wasn't a Collision last night. I was like, oh, cool. I got 2 more hours on my hands now.
But tell me my fake rundown, how far off I would have been.
I did get a chuckle out of your rundown. But I thought, let's talk about Dynamite last week. I don't think I have any actual matches on here. It's funny. I know I was making my notes. I was like, all my notes are like story based. I thought the new open with the EVPs, after they kicked Tony Khan off the television because he was going to quote unquote run the show from Jacksonville because of his injury. The new open with the EVPs was funny as shit. Then they had Jack Perry and Okada, LOL. I thought it was funny as hell. I blurt laughed when it was just all clips of them and nobody else on the show.
Okay, so you've said that you don't have a match on here. Do you remember any of the matches?
I just remember thinking that, damn, Buddy Matthews is jacked to shit, and
he wrestled somebody. I don't remember who.
Copeland.
He wrestled Copeland, yeah. And yeah, there weren't any like standout matches.
This was my favorite episode of Dynamite in the longest time.
That was the next thing I was going to say. I was like, I bet you love this, and I also like this episode. I think AEW has not been. They've been, to me, pretty good for about the past like month. To me, I think the show before Dynasty, I think was good, and then now leading up to now, I think have been pretty good.
But this one was
different reasons.
So story heavy. It was I was giddy as hell, and I was excited about a Young Bucks sighting here with them just cutting Tony off mid speech, going, "Oh, we're in charge. Here's the new opening." Whee! And just
That shit was funny.
I mean. It was hilarious.
I mean, you can see it coming from a mile away, but
yeah.
And them setting up the swerve out there. Yeah, we got a guy from Canada who's a former champion, and everybody. Yeah, you could just see the crowd going, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be Omega!" And then out pops that beautiful fucking face of Christian. Oh man, I was.
Yeah. Christian comes out to challenge Swerve. At Double or Nothing, saw some stuff circulating online. One dude with a theory about now all these people from the last 6 months or so are going to come after Swerve, and he's going to have to pay for his sins, essentially.
Which is a fantastic story.
Damn straight. He got away with a lot of evil shed.
Going in Nick Wayne's fucking house and Hangman's fucking house.
Yeah.
That was I don't know. Christian was like, I don't forget.
Yeah,
we're not going to forget what you did.
And this is how you make a baby face, a heel a baby face. When they have done some evil shit, they have to pay for their crimes. They have to do their penance. And that's fine. Let him go through all those people. It'll be fun. And as long as that's the story I want. And you give me that and I'll be all in. It's when it's the random thrown together stuff where I'm like, okay, that doesn't work for me, bro.
I mean, they're doing a good job with Swerve, and his title reign already feels more impactful than Samoa Joe, and that's not a diss at Samoa Joe. I think he was the right champion at the right time.
Sure, yeah.
Coming off the Punk stuff, I think he kind of needed it. But now, like we said, kind of Dynasty when he won, and it seems like we say this kind of every time there's an AEW pay-per-view. It felt like a reset. Now we have the Young Bucks and the Elite possibly engaging in some kind of civil war, which is a good story.
Damn straight.
We have Swerve now having to pay for his sins and all the ghosts of his past coming back to him.
You got Orange Cassidy and whatever the hell Don Callis is whispering in his ears.
My next note says, what in the hell is Orange Cassidy doing with Don Callis?
I don't know, but I want to find out. I'm intrigued.
I think at Double or Nothing is when the Don Callis family is going to turn on Ospreay. And I think that's how you keep the belt on Roderick Strong. And now you can do Ospreay versus the Callis family. And, for Orange, as much as everybody loves the character, you do have to play some different notes sometimes.
I miss the days when he was back in the indie scene, and he's played a bad guy before. AEW has not seen the bad Orange Cassidy where he is because the heart of that character has always been the apathetic secret drug user kind of thing. And addictions get bad, and he got bad.
So
he and Trent, which is happening in about 20 minutes from now, I think it'll be fun to watch.
I was going to say, yeah, if people are listening to this, you're actually living in the future. You know everything that's already happened.
Yeah, we get Kenny Omega again tonight in some capacity.
Yeah. But yeah, this was very story heavy and it felt different, but
the matches were forgettable. The matches were forgettable. I go back to what I said about AEW is a GIF. You could watch the moves in a GIF. Whereas at WWE, you have to just get your storyline recap. All you need from AEW is your move GIF. And in this case, it's Samoa Joe tossing Isaiah Cassidy into the air to hear the scream. So you need a video for that one so you can hear the scream. Shibata walking up on Chris Jericho as he's in the garbage can, as Chris Jericho is just beating the garbage can with a kendo stick and him no-selling. And I don't know if there's necessarily a gif from the House. I guess the House of Black one would be the fact that Malachi was standing behind Buddy Matthews telling Copeland to hit him with a chair, and Matthews nodding his head.
Yeah, I didn't really care for the opening match that much. I love Adam Copeland, but he's not. This ain't 15 years ago Adam Copeland. Like, clearly he's lost a step, and so you could tell that in the match where him and Buddy were, they're operating at different paces. I don't really even care about the story at this point between Copeland and whatever happens to House of Black. I kind of just hope Malachi wins and takes the title and does something with it.
So that's hilarious to me that Buddy's slowest speed isn't to the point where it's Adam's fastest speed.
Oh, Buddy's a freak of nature, dude.
He is. I love it. He was the best kept secret of 205 Live.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he looks like there is still some version where you could present him as like a Brock Lesnar type character, and I think he would be massively over. But at this point, it probably not going to happen in AEW because it has to come at the expense of somebody else's screen time to get that over. But
and I'm gonna break a lot of nerd hearts right here. I mean, because everybody in their head thinks that they could just swoop in and steal Rhea Ripley. None of y'all, Buddy Matthews.
No,
none of y'all.
No. But. No, I liked, and I enjoyed the end of the.
Oh yeah, and so we got the intro story beat of Swerve and Christian. You get the Orange Cassidy story beat with Chuck will never wrestle again, more than likely. So I'm going to kick your ass. That leads into Kenny Omega coming out there talking, hinting a retirement, but I'm going to keep fighting. I just can't get touched in my guts. And the moment somebody tells you they can't get touched in the guts, they're getting touched in the guts.
Yeah, there's a lot of chaos at the end of this show. Kenny's back tonight. We get, I guess, when you pitched the idea of maybe him being like the on-screen GM sort of deal?
He's still an EVP. He's injured. He's now pissed off.
Right.
He's your counterbalance.
And what's cool about the story is that it's affecting multiple guys on the roster.
Yep.
And it happens to be affecting also the dude who has your biggest title, which is good to have. That's why I said like an elite type Civil War storyline with some of everyone clicking up, a la Kendrick and Drake. Everybody, you got to click up now. You got to pick a side because you can't be for both of these dudes. So everybody's got to pick a team to fight for here. That's good. That's good storytelling. It's natural. It's probably what they should have been doing all along.
I think Orange Cassidy is going to be J. Cole. He's going to throw out a disc, then step back and say, I don't want to be in this fight.
Yeah, well, everyone was clowning J. Cole, but he's a smart man at this point because I don't think he realized the level of hate that was involved here. And there's money in running a Okada and Omega feud for a little bit in AEW.
But I think that's still a ways out, and that's the problem. Is this can only get us so far if Omega is out for a significant amount of time, because the last thing AEW needs is a feud with somebody who's able to wrestle against somebody who can't wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think he might be closer than what he's leading.
Because we've got 4 of those going right now in AEW. Because
if you really aren't medically cleared, you're not out there taking. Now, granted, they didn't lay into him real hard.
No, I mean, Jack Perry he took that chair to his stomach and he hit him about as hard as he hit Tony Khan with a microphone.
Yeah. But didn't Omega take a bump?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
he's further along than he's letting us.
I think so. I think he's gearing up for. I mean, keep in mind, this is also the same guy who, when he came back from injury last time, was wrestling in like a long sleeve Under Armour. And people are like, oh, it's because he's fat. It's like, No, he's doing it for storyline because when he takes it off, he's still fucking jacked as shit. Like he's just naturally in phenomenal shape.
But yeah, this was one of my favorite Dynamites, and it led into a wet fart of a Rampage.
Well, I didn't even watch Rampage because shit doesn't matter.
I didn't either.
It doesn't matter.
Oh man, the main event match.
It came right after.
I mean, so you had Jay White versus
the Willow versus Sky Blue was fun. Yeah. Did you see that one?
I did. I saw her leap off the railing into that chair swing that missed her by about 5 feet.
No, I'm talking about the.
You're talking about people. You're talking about him Tamaloa missing that ref. She was further away from that chair than Tamaloa was from that ref.
That was rough. I can't lie. But the fucking barbed wire at the end was brutal as shit. Fans were saying that it took Sky Blue like 5 minutes to get out of that fucking barbed wire once they stopped rolling.
I forgot. There was another match in Dynamite that was just, you had your Mariah May versus Deeb, where she got tied up, quote unquote, like a pretzel. Yeah. Where, here, I'm tied up too.
This I will not tolerate any Mariah May slander from anybody on this podcast.
Tonight it's Mariah May versus Harley Cameron, right?
Yeah.
She's getting all the screen time.
Listen.
Very much else happening in the women's division.
Although I do like that Steven specifically has talked about his dislike for the Toni Storm character. Do you still feel the same way now? Because she has taken a turn.
She is adding more to the dimensions of it. I will agree.
Yeah. She's going even further off the deep end.
Well, she's gone from Sunset Boulevard to 1920s mobster wife. Is basically what she's kind of gone to. She's gotten more violent.
Protective.
She's got badass one-liners now. It's not just like a ditzy. Oh, what is this happening?
It was funny as shit last week. She was like, chin, tits, shoe.
Yeah. So
where she that was the one where she was talking about bending Deeb over and making her humble, breaking her back.
Yeah. Iron Sheiking it.
And what did she say? She said,
we're in Winnipeg, but I'm not worried about Winnie.
Yeah. Just, bro, this is fantastic stuff.
You laughed a little too much for somebody that doesn't like that character.
No, that to me, I enjoy a good double entendre as much as the next person.
But I think this is part of like if she was in WWE doing this, we probably would have already saw this side of the character because there would have been a dozen people sitting in a room hashing this stuff out. Where I think in AEW, because that's not happening, you kind of do have to figure it out on the fly in front of a camera. And I think that's what we've seen here. She's probably, changing stuff up. Maybe like Tony's talked to her about, I doubt these ideas are coming from Tony. I don't think he's that kind of creative guy. But like they've got Jen Pepperman now. They have some other people. Maybe it's like, hey, why don't we try this? And it shapes and it molds along the way.
But to me, this is. I'm concerned that this is a lot of what it seemed with AEW is when somebody gets a story, everybody else around them suffers, and all the other storylines because they only are able to focus on one thing. And they're starting to be able to multitask in the men's division, it seems like, but they are not multitasking to that level in the women's division.
Half their women's division is fucking injured still.
I mean, it's basically only two stories that are happening in the women's division. It's Toni Storm and Willow and Mercedes.
And one of those stories is garbage.
Yeah. And I do think Willow is getting more confident on the mic, and I think she's gotten better.
Oh, and I'm sorry, hold on. I did not mean to imply that Willow was the weak link in that.
I agree. Yeah, I didn't think you. Yeah. But it is kind of crazy to think about. Or like, and you don't want. Listen, you never want. I'm not close to Mercedes Moné. I do not know. She seems like a person that is just skating by on a name. And maybe not really putting in the type of work.
I have suffered in some of my other sports loves of watching people get a huge contract and then do nothing for it.
It happens all the time.
And that is what it feels like right now to me. I don't know if she's injured and she's not able to do something. Listen, I don't know what's going on, but what she's bringing is not worth the dollar signs that come with each appearance.
Fans are already starting to turn, so if she doesn't come out and put on a fucking banger versus Willow,
Well,
fans are turning on her.
We talked about it at
fast.
Dynasty when it was the end and she came out and like no one was chanting CEO. But then when Willow raised the title up, she got a bigger response from the crowd.
And here's the thing about Mercedes. She can put on bangers. But when she does, she tends to get injured.
Yeah.
She may be
she's got hesitant to come out and just absolutely show off this one.
She's got the CM Punk effect where she can go, but it's going to cost her.
This match versus Willow may not have been ideal for her first match back because she may be thinking about the last time Willow almost put her out of wrestling forever.
Nah, that was that. You keep saying that, but she's already told us that was a minor inconvenience. I mean, that was the promo she cut. I was nearly
That's
killed.
what she said on TV.
But it was a minor I was nearly killed, but it was only a minor inconvenience.
Yeah, she is. She wasn't even on this episode of Dynamite, was she? Probably.
There's a lot of people.
She was. I didn't take a note.
There's a lot of people not on these episodes. And that's what's you've got a
Danielson's out for kayfabe reasons. They said he's trying to sell the neck injury.
Okay.
They're giving him some time off because he was on
Where's
TV
Moxley?
pretty much every week. You say point is valid about Moxley. Moxley ain't on fucking TV. He's fucking off with that IGW.
Who did Claudio fight this time?
Claudio's not one of your people you expect to see every week.
He wrestled. I don't know. He had a pretty good promo though.
Where's Wheeler? Is
I think we've given up on.
Yeah.
We've given up on some of these guys. Some of these guys that we
Hangman,
love.
you could be like, where's Hangman? Because Hangman hadn't been on TV.
Hangman will come back and insert himself again in the Swerve thing. I think.
did we see any
or
of
with the Bucks and Omega?
Not that I'm wanting them there, but they have built them as to be some of the top people on that group and that promotion. Was the Undisputed Kingdom around this time?
Oh, nobody cares about that.
But that's the thing. You built them up to be your top tier at this stage.
No, they're not. I don't think so. Roddy's got a mid-level championship. The other two dudes have got third rate.
That is literally one of the things that are, I mean, we all want it to end as quickly as it comes back, but Adam Cole is in a feud with your former top guy.
I want MJF to come back, and it's going to be a minute because he's got,
he just got fucking surgery.
He got surgery, but it's going to be, the big thing with AEW will be what happens with the Elite and how many guys get sucked into the story, because I think Hangman will probably come back in the story at some point.
My fear is that it goes the late NWO way.
I mean, listen, that's any fear any time when you do any kind of group thing is, you don't go full NWO. It's like Tropic Thunder. You never go full NWO. So full NWO can get a little crazy sometimes. So we'll see. Maybe they're,
But see, that's the thing. Tony's tendency toward wrestling is to repeat what he sees and not necessarily all the good stuff.
I mean, that is true. But maybe he has different voices. Maybe the reason these shows feel a little bit different is because maybe this is maybe more people have a voice at the table now.
Maybe he really is stuck in Jacksonville.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Y'all got any other follow-ups?
No, when's it? Double or Nothing's Memorial Day weekend, right? So we got like
26.
We got about a couple weeks left? 3?
So Vegas has WrestleMania next year, and it's been pushed back. So it's over Easter weekend. So they're not out fighting the NWA, the NBA, or the basketball, the college basketball. You got the deal. TKO just cut a deal with USA. So that gap that from when the contract ends to when they go to Netflix is now filled. The deal in Saudi Arabia is up or is ready to be renewed, and they are fighting hard to get a WrestleMania there.
I don't think WWE, it's hard for companies to act responsibly, okay? Because they see the dollar signs.
To give an out, they want one of two events: Royal Rumble or WrestleMania.
I think WrestleMania has become such a global phenomenon where people from all across the world come that I think it would be irresponsible of WWE to put it in a place where the government is not that tolerant of certain types of people, let's say.
Now, we all know that WWE, the way their brand now works is they don't pay to put on shows in those big shows anymore. They get paid to put on those big shows. And when you're talking about countries that have enough money to buy damn near everything.
Sure.
So,
but
do they throw a Tony Khan at them and try to?
But it doesn't take a lot of imagination to come up with the worst possible headline that WWE could have post WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That makes worldwide news, where Lester Holt starting the 5 o'clock news talking about WWE and the actions that have happened because somebody has been thrown in jail or something has happened in Saudi Arabia.
I mean, if we remember, what was this, about 2 years ago?
The planes?
The planes, yeah.
Yeah. So
But there's money that is involved.
I get it. But WWE, how much more you need?
But see,
you want all of it?
See, but this is America. I'll get my Childish Gambino out here too. This is America.
What more you need? You want all
when the company
money?
is no longer about just making money for one person, because one person can get enough money in theory.
Sure.
But because this is now a stock-driven company, everybody got that dollar sign.
But again, if they do one in Saudi Arabia and Lester Holt at 5 o'clock says, good evening, our top story tonight.
But I think we are a hell of a lot closer to seeing a non-U.S. soil-based WrestleMania, a non-North American
I agree with you.
based WrestleMania than we are not.
But maybe let's not put it in the Middle East.
If I were Tony Khan, I'd be taking a fucking pay-per-view down to fucking Puerto Rico and over to France.
They can't afford to. That is the difference between the two companies. AEW pays to put on shows. WWE gets paid to put on shows.
I bet you they'd fucking sell.
No, because there's a difference in the price range of what WWE brings to an economy versus what AEW does.
Sure.
But yeah, I would agree with you that we're probably closer than ever to a non-American WrestleMania. But let's not do it in the Middle. Let's not do it in the Middle East. You know, there's just some place like you wouldn't do it in North Korea. So let's not do it. There's some places you just can't go, right?
I mean, that was the largest attended pay-per-view ever put on by WCW.
That's true.
I'm using air quotes around all of that.
Well, what did they say? Like 300,000 people was in there?
Mandatory attendance goes a long way, man.
Yeah. You ever heard about this story?
Mm-mm.
Oh, yeah. The WCW put on a co-branded event with New Japan, I think it was, in North Korea.
Oh, Lord.
And the whole country, it was mandatory attendance.
Biggest pay-per-view ever. Tony Khan ain't got nothing on that shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say it was in like the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people in
Jesus
this arena.
Christ.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was fun for all of those people that couldn't see shit.
Oh, yeah. And they didn't know, like, a lot of guys have told funny stories. It was like they didn't know what this was.
Yeah.
They thought it was like a circus act. So like they're not making any noise because they don't understand what they're watching.
They're just there so they don't get killed.
Yeah. So
I'm just there so I
But no,
don't
I
get
agree.
fined.
Saudi Arabia wouldn't be my first choice. Paris, Berlin, Tokyo.
yeah, there are other places that are better.
Real quick to wrap up, I sent a text the other day. Did y'all see New South has a new champ?
I did see that.
Yeah, All Business. Tyler Franks won the championship. I didn't see it. I didn't make it over there. I just was a little surprised the next day. And then I saw that GM Dump Sanders was wishing Braden Toon good luck. I think a guy was under the impression that he was not going to be able to be around for a while, which is probably why the belt was coming off of him so soon. He's basically on the road nonstop these days. Up and down the coast, doing a lot of work with GCW and a bunch of other indie promotions. Hunter Drake is doing a lot out of town as well. Kinsey Page from New South has got her own promotion with her sister as well as doing stuff with TNA, right? Is that TNA? Billy Corgan's deal?
NWA.
Where did TNA come from? From back in the day. But yeah, so congratulations, Tyler Franks. Richard Holiday, winner of the Haas tournament from a couple months ago, is making his return back down south to face Donnie Primetime next weekend at Top Shelf in Scottsboro. Consider making the drive over there. There's a bunch of people on the card that I don't know, so I'm thinking there'll be a lot of new faces coming up soon in New South to kind of replace some of the guys that are on the road so much these days. But yeah, get out to a local show if you can. Support your local wrestling. Do you guys have anything else going on before we switched out of here?
Nah. The only thing that's kind of around the world of wrestling is the NBA rights negotiations and what that could mean for.
They still haven't settled that, have they?
AEW. Well, TNT's probably out. It's probably going to be a 3-horse race between NBC, Peacock, Amazon, and I forget who the third is.
I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon doesn't start picking up everything they can.
Well, and the only reason I bring it up is because that could mean one of two things for AEW. Either
it frees up some bank account.
Either WBD is like, we have to have some type of live programming, so let's have AEW, or hey, we can't give you the type of money we thought we were because we don't have anything coming in. Like, we don't have any kind of big revenue thing. And AEW, in terms of like television ratings, they're not that far behind the NBA. It's not like it's a crazy, we're not talking about football here.
Best case scenario, though, is this should carry them out of their exclusive negotiation period. So that will allow them to start shopping around. And, the more people looking at your product, you can generate some income. But it's just a matter of where you end up and how you're going to deliver it.
And who's to say that, Amazon doesn't want to jump in or somebody else doesn't want to jump in. And maybe that comes with certain types of things of, hey, we have to put together a creative team if we're going to do this. Like, we can't consolidate so much of the creative power in one person's hands.
I know we talk about streaming and stuff a lot, like their back catalog and if they'll ever get a streaming thing and get away from the Bleacher Report stuff. I know I told my Dynasty story with the pay-per-view and the balloon knot, but did I mention that?
Get me again. Never laughed so hard about the word butthole.
But did I mention that I bought it on payperview.com instead of Bleacher Report?
Oh, yeah. So after Revolution, the word was Tony was so pissed because people couldn't get in that now you can get it on YouTube and through your cable company. Now it's kind of everywhere traditional pay-per-views.
Yeah, I got it at payperview.com and it only glitched out once.
Yeah. And
it was great.
So
worth it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with AEW, but it wouldn't shock me either way if Zasloff doubled down and was like, we got to have something, so here's the bag. Or if they said, hey, we just don't have that money, go somewhere else.
But here's the thing. When you're a billionaire, losing money with AEW is a write-off.
Oh, I mean, yeah, AEW is not in.
So I mean, he can throw money at this for as long as he's willing to throw money until his action figures stop entertaining him. He can throw money at an unprofitable wrestling industry as long as he wants.
But it could allow them. There are certain, and we kind of talked about this. There are certain things that maybe are holding, like not having a streaming service, being tied to traditional type of cable things like that could be a problem for them. Like if you open up something like Amazon, well, shit, when you go on Amazon Prime, if AEW is there on a Wednesday, like that, much like the reason WWE went with Netflix, it opens them up to such a large potential fan base. Now, whether they get those people to convert them to wrestling fans is another story, but the potential is there at least.
Yeah. Well, I think that'll do it for us this week, y'all. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Threads and Twitter at Alabama Slam Pod, and follow our network of fellow podcasters at thealabamatake.com. You can also follow the Alabama Take on all social media platforms for Star Wars podcasts, book podcasts, TV podcasts, sports podcasts, music podcasts, etc., etc., etc. And we're going to get out of here so we can go home and watch Dynamite, and we'll talk to y'all next week.